Hello everyone and welcome back to FIFA 22 Career Mode. Today we're looking at the best young strikers you can buy that have an 80 plus potential in League 2. Now some of these players are not going to be suited for everyone. I know everyone does different types of career modes. Some people like to work on a tight budget and get all the way to the top, and some people like to utilize the financial takeover. So hopefully I've catered for everyone here. We're going to go through each player individually and you guys can make the decisions which one suits you the best. Let's start things off with Wilfried Gnonto. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Centre forward, left mid and striker, 550,000 up to 720,000. So a good cheap bargain option for a player who starts at 58 and has an 80 potential. I don't know whether he's going to be first choice unless you're really working on a tight budget. The only reason I say that is because 58 rated is on the lower portion of League 2. So, I mean, after one season of first team football and development, I think you might be able to get him up to close to a mid-60s. So I think he will be pretty good for you, but to start off with, he might not be good enough to really take you to the top of League 2. You could always purchase him as a backup, have him on the bench. The fact he can cover left mid and striker, if you're having a good game, you bring him off the bench and you give him some first team football. Before you know it, he'll be balanced with the rest of the squad. So a very good bargain option, but that overall ability does drag him down a little bit. Next up, Jose Riasco. Similar to the last one, 58 rated, 80 potential, 550 to 780,000. Again, a player who is an absolute bargain with that 80 potential, be absolutely fantastic. You're going to make a massive profit on him. It's just down to whether you are happy to utilize a 58 rated player at the beginning of the game, which some people won't find a problem. Others might struggle having one of their main strikers have such a low rating. Again, you could use him from the bench and help develop him and have one of the stronger players from lower in the list first. But definitely an option, especially if you're working off a tight budget. Definitely a player I would definitely suggest. Next up, Juan David Carabali. Very similar to the previous two. I mean, exactly the same to the previous two, actually. Very similar value, 550 to 810. 58 rated with an 80 potential. I mean, everything I just said about the previous two goes for this guy as well, to be honest. Again, very good. You'll make a big profit. It's just whether he's good enough for you personally at the beginning of the game. Next up, we've got someone who's been on this list for a few years now, and that's Ricky J. Jones. So you're looking at slightly more expensive, but he is 3 ranking points higher than the previous guys to start off with. He still only has a potential of 80, so he's not going to get any higher than them, but you're starting off with a bit more quality, which might be easier for you. But you're going to have to pay for it. That extra little wedge is what you're paying for, I suppose. But then a very good player, very useful, one that I've used in previous career modes, and he's always been pretty good for me. Next up, Jay Stansfield, 61 rated to start with, 81 potential, 890 to 1.2 million. Again, good value for money. Maybe a better value for money elsewhere than this guy, but he is available should you want him. I feel like maybe, I don't know, I think Ricky J. Jones for me. I mean, saying that, you're looking at a very similar value between the two. I mean, these two you could get as your main strike force. That 3,200 wages is not going to be a major issue, but obviously you want to keep your wages as low as possible and move all your money into your transfer budget for more players. But he is available should you want him. Next one is Young Sang Bin. 950 to 1.05, 62 rated, 80 potential. So we're getting higher now on the overall, which is why you're seeing the values increase as well. With a club, Suwon Samsung Blue Wings, a club you could do some player trades with to get this guy's value even cheaper. But I think for close to a million, 62 rated, I think it's going to be a pretty good value signing for you. Maybe not the best. I personally would go for the cheaper guys, the ones at the top. I know they're only 58 rated, but for that sort of value, you can buy more players and get more players in your squad. But this guy is still definitely an option should you want him. Next up, Georgios Koutsias, 1.4 to 2.1 million, getting more expensive now, 63 rated, up to an 81. I don't really think this guy's much more worth it than some of the others, to be honest with you. Of course, if you want to buy this guy, you can do it. You're going to make a profit on him, but I think there's better value elsewhere on this list. Next up, David Datro Fofana from Molde. This guy, 63 rated with an 83 potential, so the highest rating potential we've had so far. And as you can see, I mean, pretty similar price to Koutsias. for same current ability, but he's got that extra couple of potential. So between the two, I personally would go for this one, and with Mulder as well, player swaps would be an option to try and bring this guy down to under $1 million price-wise. Next up from Tenerife, you've got Ethan, or Effian, 1.8 to 2.7 million, 63 rated with an 80 potential, so again, another decent option, but I do believe there's better value elsewhere on this list, but he is available should you want him. Next up, Javi Cueto, similar to the previous one, 1.7 to 2.4 million, striker from Oviedo. You're looking at a 64 start to an 80 potential. Again, I think there's much better value for money elsewhere, but if you're looking for another Spanish striker, this could be an option. Next up, then we've got Erin Dinka, or Dinky. 64 rated, 81 potential. This guy can cover right wing as well as centre forward. 1.3 to 1.5 million makes him cheaper than some of the other players around him on the list. So I wouldn't say he's a bargain as such, but he's definitely a better price than some of the others. And the fact that he can cover your right wing and centre forward positions at the same time might make him quite good and versatile. If you're running off a financial takeover, this could be a very good option off the bench for you. Next up, we've got Danilo Sican, a player we've had on the list for a couple of years now. 2 million to 2.9, quite expensive. 65 up to an 80 potential. I mean, I've enjoyed him the last couple of years, but at that sort of value, is he worth it? In my opinion, no. I think there's better value for money players elsewhere, but it's worth keeping in mind. Next up, Felix Mambimbi. We've seen him on a couple of videos now because he's been in the right wing and the left wing videos, as well as now the striker video. 65 rated, 80 potential, 2 million to 2.9. Again, I would only really consider this guy if you're running a financial takeover and you want someone on the bench to cover all three of those attacking positions. Apart from that, there's much better value on the list elsewhere. Next up, Akin Kunmi Amu from Hammarby. 2 million to 2.9 million, centre forward. He is 65 rated with an 80 potential. Again, for me, I think there's better prices elsewhere you can pick up. For an 80 potential as well, especially, there's much better value for money out there. And talking of that, this is one of them, I believe. Andreas Sheldrup can play cam, left wing and striker. 1.9 million to 2.7 million. 65 start with an 84 potential. Joint second highest potential on this entire list. So definitely this is one that I would try and push for. Also with a club, there's the chance of the player swap and getting this guy for close to $1 million. But if you've got the financial takeover, I'd push for this guy pretty early on with that 84 potential. But also of an 84 potential, we've got Jean Carrick Aburu from Sociedad. Yeah, 65 star, 84 potential as well. So again, one you're going to want to try and push on pretty early on. It's not the highest potential in the list. That guy's coming up a little bit later on, but it's a very solid player if you do have that financial takeover. One I would definitely consider. And 65 rated is a pretty good level for League 2, where he's going to be very competitive straight away. Next up, Marin Lubicic. 65 rated, 82 potential, 2.2 to 3.3 million. I mean, I personally, if I had the money, would be spending it on one of the previous two that are cheaper. Considering this guy's a 65 to an 82, the previous two guys got higher potentials and a lower value for the same current ability. So, yeah, in my opinion, I would stick away from this guy, but he is available should you want him. Next up, Claudio Petrilla. 2.3 million to 3.2 million. He is a 66 rated with an 80 potential. Again, I personally would go for someone like Sheldrup or Karikaburu, to be honest, rather than this guy, but he is available. Next, Julien Lobete can play left mid as well as striker. 2.3 to 3.2 million, 66 rated, 80 potential. Again, there's better value for me on this list. However, he is available. Can cover left mid as well as striker, so maybe as a backup if you've got the financial takeover. He's a good player. Next, we've got Alberto Molero, 2.5 to 3.5 million, 67 rated, 81 potential. I mean, this guy's good. As a cam as well, can play cam as well as striker. 67 rated is pretty good. There are higher rated players coming. For 2.5 to 3.5 million though, I think he's definitely worth it, but I do think there's better value coming. Next up is Tirif's Dolan. This guy is a 68 rated, 83 potential. Can play left wing, right wing, and striker. This one for me is just if you've done the financial takeover. 3.2 to 4.6 million is quite a bit, but that weekly wage of 9,200 is also quite high as well. So yeah, I would back away unless you've got the financial takeover running on this one. If you have got the financial takeover, this guy is probably, I want to say a must, but he's definitely up there, especially because of his versatility as well. Next up, we've got Ivan Azon, 3.3 million to 4.9 million. He is a 68 rate with an 82 potential. Again, it's up to you. I believe there's better value elsewhere, but it's up to you. This guy is available and, of course, has that 82 potential. You'll make a profit on him no matter what, but I think there's better value elsewhere. Next up, Rodrigo Muniz of Fulham, 3.4 to 5 million, 68 rated, 80 potential. I wouldn't go for this guy. Again, he's quite expensive. His potential is only 80, and that £14,000 a week wage is going to be very difficult for a League 2 team to achieve unless you've got the financial takeover and you do not care about money whatsoever. Next up, Laji Ramazani, a player who again can play left mid, right mid, as well as striker. 3.4 to 5 million is pretty good for a player who's 68 rated with an 83 potential. If you do have a financial takeover, this is one that I definitely would try and prioritize. I wouldn't say it's the be-all and end-all of your career mode, but he would definitely be one I would try and prioritize, and covering those three positions would be great as well. And yeah, he's a very good player, 83 rated potential. Next up then is the player who has the highest potential on this list. It is Benjamin Sesko, a striker from Red Bull Salzburg from Slovenia. 3.7 to 5.7 million is expensive, 68 rated with an 86 potential. So if you've got a financial takeover, this is the man you want leading your front line, in my opinion. And I will go out and get him straight away if you can. If you've not got the financial takeover, I think you're going to very much struggle to get anywhere near the value of this guy unless you're willing to put all your eggs in one basket and go all out for him. Next up then is Gökdeniz Bayraktar. Can play left mid, right mid, as well as striker. 3.8 million to 5.6. 69 rate with an 83 potential. You're paying You're paying mainly on this one for the current ability. The 83 potential is great, but that value is quite expensive. I mean, if you're running with a financial takeover, this is definitely a good option. It's a player who's going to be very, very strong in League 2 straight away. So I definitely would suggest it. I mean, if you're playing in League 2 and you've got financial takeover, you can't go wrong with Ramazani, Bayraktar and Sesko as your front three. I mean, that would be a fantastic front three. It's going to cost you between 10 and 15 million, but it would be a fantastic front three that's going to take you all the way up to the Premiership and maybe higher. So definitely worth an option. And the final one is Ryan Brewster from Sheffield United, striker, 3.7 to 5.5 million. I wouldn't suggest this one. 69 current ability, 80 potential, 9,500 wage. I mean, there's better options out there for me. I think Sesko, for the same value, with that 86 potential, is definitely worth more, in my opinion. So that's the one I would go for. But Brewster, if you're desperate for him, if you're a Liverpool fan, or of course he used to play for Liverpool before moving to Sheffield United, he's definitely available. It's down to whether you want to spend your money on him. So there we go. Like I said, if I had the money and if I had unlimited funds in League 2, I would probably go with Bayraktar, Sesko and Ramazani as my front three. Also looking at players like Sheldrup or Karakaburu, who both have 84 potentials as well. Those are the players I've prioritised. If I'm running off a short budget, then you can't really go wrong with these front three. You might have to pick these three up if you're using player swaps well for less than $1 million, and you're looking at massive profits in the future. And they're all going to be decent players, just a little bit lower on the rating wise now. So I hope this has been useful for you. Of course, if it has, hit that like button. Of course, subscribe if you would like to see some more. I've been Shebe Gamer. Thank you much for watching. Let me know if I missed anyone in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye.